Hello and welcome to Great Escapes. I'm Martin Brundle and my great escape came at the wheel of one of these beasts, a Formula One racing car. It happened in the Australian Grand Prix at 180 miles an hour.
And that's Brundle in huge trouble. A big accident for Martin Brundle. There was total confusion at the back of the grid. Brundle trying to make his way through from the very last row.
Even at this speed, everything seems to happen in slow motion. But thanks to the safety features on today's Formula One cars, I came out of it without a scratch. Well, that was my great escape. And coming up, we've got lots more. Real-life footage of the most amazing and bizarre incidents from all over the world. If you think I was lucky, let's start by introducing you to Don Gay Jr., America's hottest drag racer. Don's dragster smashes into the concrete wall. He's knocked unconscious. With the driver out cold, the car gets hotter and hotter. Rescuers race to rip the burning car apart. They can't believe he's still alive, but he is, just.
Got it. Hold it. Got me when you got it. I'm on the ground. Get his helmet off. Let's get the helmet off. Get the helmet off.
They search for vital signs.
He's breathing.
The first good sign, but they need to get air to him quickly.
Don. That's a boy. That's a boy in there. All right, pump it, Doc. It's okay.
Tummy all right, Don?
His fire suit has saved his life, but the red-hot metal has burnt his arms. The intense heat even caused the sweat inside his suit to boil. When you look at the burnt-out wreck of the dragster, it's hard to believe anybody could survive. But survive he did.
You're going to be okay. Keep your hand right here for me, buddy.
Did you hurt anywhere at all?
No, we're clipped together now. Busy.
Okay.
Guys looking out for me.
This was only his second race ever. And so nearly his last. Lucky boy. Motorsport of any kind can be a pretty dangerous pastime, and so can piloting your own aeroplane. What goes up must come down. It's how it comes down that matters. High in the sky, pilot Scott Gordon is in big trouble. He's coming in to land, but one of his 3 landing wheels refuses to come down. While he circles overhead, emergency crews work out an ambitious plan to save him. They want him to land one wing of the aircraft on a moving trailer to act as the missing undercarriage wheel. It doesn't work. Even at top speed, the truck can't go fast enough. Plan B is more dangerous still. With car and plane travelling at nearly 100 miles an hour, mechanic Joe Lippo is going to try and free the stuck wheel with his bare hands. Incredibly, he does it. Watch again at the amazing precision involved. Just a few feet separating the two. Joe can hardly believe it himself. In the end, a textbook landing.
Oh, man. Good boy, Scotty.
And a warm welcome from ground control for one very lucky pilot. When firemen get called out on a 999 call like this, they never quite know what to expect when they get to the other end. But what they hate most is dealing with fires that involve children. No matter how experienced, it gets to every one of them. This next clip from the States shows just how quickly they need to react. Fire sweeps through this apartment block in Boston only hours after housing officials discovered scores of building code violations. Fire Lieutenant Timothy McGillicuddy arrived with his crew on what he believes to be another routine call-out. But from inside the building, they hear the terrified screams of a child. Her mother is hysterical and has to be held back from going in after her. In a last, desperate attempt to save her, McGillicuddy races into the blazing building himself and emerges with the little girl's apparently lifeless body. Every second is vital, but there's no sign of the paramedics. 3-year-old Rebecca Ortega isn't breathing, and her heart stopped beating. McGillicuddy knows if little Rebecca is to have any chance of surviving, resuscitation must start immediately. The determination to keep her alive is etched on their faces. At last, an encouraging sign. Rebecca gasps for breath, but she's still in urgent need of expert medical help.
On her side! Where's the urinator?
Paramedics finally arrive. For Mum, it's all been too much. But thanks to her rescuers, Rebecca was soon out of danger. She went on to make a full recovery. For his part, McGillicuddy received the fire department's top award for his extraordinary act of courage. Where children are concerned, rivers tend to hold a fatal fascination. Ask any of these police divers, and they'll tell you the part of the job that they really dread is searching for a child's body after a drowning incident. From Australia now, the remarkable story of a boy who looked like he was going to end up as another of these grim statistics, till fate and the police took a hand.
The child has been swept down the Sturt Creek. He's still calling out for help.
Struggling to keep his head above water, police spot a terrified boy being swept along a fast-flowing river in Adelaide. Senior Constable David Donovan risks his own life by diving in after him. Because of the raging current, he's powerless to help, and they're swept downriver together. As other police officers and neighbours throw them a lifeline, O'Donovan manages to grab hold of the boy, and they cling to a rock in mid-channel.
Getting the time up on you, mate.
10-year-old Chris Butler hangs on to his rescuer, but he's tiring fast. They'll need to get him ashore as quickly as possible. Easier said than done.
All right, you're tied on, buddy. You're doing well. Easy, don't take him out. Hold it there.
Once he knows he's safe, the emotion of the moment gets to young Chris. He realises he's lucky to be alive. The next day, he has a chance to say thanks to the policeman who saved his life. For David Donovan, it's the best possible reward. In the world of horse racing, everybody knows there's no such thing as a dead cert. But I'd be prepared to risk my mortgage on never seeing a race like this next one ever again. 17-year-old Andrew Payne is a jockey with a unique claim to fame. He started a race on one horse and finished on another. On the outside, he switches from his mount Hong Kwok Star to his rival's horse Cogitate. First, Cogitate's rider falls, then Andrew's horse unseats him, so he simply hops over.
Just before the corner, he's Cogitate clipped heels, and he sort of nearly fell, and at the same time, mine sort of moved really quickly, and I've sort of lost my balance and fell out the side, and as I was sort of falling out, my hand sort of went over the other horse's saddle, and I just fell onto the other horse.
He should have been on the turf instead of on another horse, because they're travelling at 60 kilometres an hour or faster. Little fella's only 47 kilos. Absolutely amazing.
Racing expert Keith Hilliard couldn't believe his own eyes.
Well, I couldn't work out how Andrew came back to scale on a horse that was not the one he went out onto the track on, and it was only until we watched the replay that we knew we'd seen the ultimate escape.
You can say that again. While we're on the subject of wacky races, place your bets on whether this next chap ever makes it to the finishing post in one piece. The result coming up after the break. Welcome back. When we left you, jockey Simon Mills was in a spot of bother. Here's what happened.
Midfield, they're off.
Simon, riding the grey horse Sir Sagamore, was in a winning position in Australia's Great Eastern Steeplechase as the field rounded the final turn. Then, disaster.
Hitch up by 2. Second, Sir Sagamore, who's nearly lost the rider. He's gone. The rider was unseated. In third placing, battling on there. Oh, he's still with that horse. He got dragged over the next fence, that rider.
Racegoers watched in horror as Mills fell and got his leg trapped in the stirrup. The horse was in no mood to stop. Only after jumping the next fence did Simon's leg come free.
And we have an important call for the club doctor to the mounting yard immediately, please.
I've had a lot of falls, you know. I've been riding for a long time, but I just couldn't break through this time, and I just saw the other fence coming up, and what do? There's not much you can do about it, so you just hope for the best.
Miraculously, he didn't break his leg, only his left arm. But it's a race he says he'll never forget.
First thing they say is, are you still riding? You know, they expect you not to be riding, but it's something I love. It's a terrific sport, and it might have been a more obscure way of getting into the limelight, but I can't change it now, but it's been terrific.
I must confess, sharks give me the creeps. Even comparative tiddlers like these. As for great white sharks, the infamous jaws, well, you wouldn't catch me within a mile of one. They're among the most ferocious killers in the entire animal kingdom. But does that put some people off? No way. Andrew White has a passion for sharks, especially great whites. Here, on the aptly named Dangerous Reef in South Australia, he's about to test his new submersible. It's been specially designed so he can observe these magnificent creatures at close quarters. First, the team attracts a great white and attaches a transmitter, enabling Andrew and the sub to follow it.
It was a bizarre feeling to be fully in the shark's world. Your mindset is normally so concerned with protection that the freedom of the sub took a while to get used to. After a while, though, I was mesmerised by the calmness of the shark. The feeling was so strong that I almost believed I could get out of the sub and swim with it, just like any other fish.
But the great white isn't like any other fish. It's a killer. When it gets tangled in the safety ropes, it unleashes its awesome power. 2 tons of pure aggression. A terrifying ordeal for Andrew's colleague, trapped in the underwater cage.
I could see the rope fraying, so I thought that the rope was going to give way first. So that was okay.
The team prepare for the final part of their study. They're going to use the sub to chase the shark and make it angrier still. They know exactly what to expect. The question is, will the sub stand up to it? Andrew soon finds out.
I was
literally inside the jaws of the shark. It came right up, its mouth was from about there, right to up here, and I'm looking straight down to see through its gill slits. I had one right on the front here, but I was touching its nose. Its nose was right in here, and I'm just going boom like that. I could see every serration on its teeth. I mean, you can't get any closer. It was incredible.
Rather him than me. I'll tell you what really frightens me, though, and that's the thought of drowning. Scares me to death, it really does. Which is why this next incredible incident, filmed off the coast of Hawaii, is just about my ultimate horror. See what you think. Pilot whales playfully tag alongside a small boat, splashing through the calm, warm waters. These whales aren't considered dangerous, so Lee Tepley and Lisa Costello decide to take a closer look. For Lee, it's a chance to get some rare underwater footage, while Lisa is happy to swim around with the whales. One of them seems fascinated by the tiny figure and lets Lisa get close enough to pat him. Then, without warning, the mood changes. The whale lunges at Lisa.
At no point did I think that he wanted to hurt me, but I was confused why he was nipping me.
Her leg gets trapped in the whale's mouth, and wearing only a snorkel, she's dragged to the bottom of the ocean.
I can remember looking at him going, well, now what are we doing? And at that point, I looked up to the surface of the water and realized I was about 40 feet, and that if he let go at that point, I wasn't going to make it. He was already on his way up, but I'm not thinking that I'm going to make it up there. I'm just wondering about death. When he's on his way up, taking me to the surface, my body is trying to get to the surface very rapidly, and he's just very, very still. You can see his whole body's just very still, just floating towards the surface with me in his mouth. And about the last 15 feet, which I figured I had 1 or 2 seconds to live, you can see his whole tail, the whole bottom half of his body, blasting me up to the surface real quick, which I feel was the crucial seconds that, why I'm still sitting here.
Lisa is convinced the whale only wanted to play.
I never had any fear that this animal had any intentions of harming me. So for, an animal that size not to crush a bone with his jaws, to me that's very conscious effort that he was being careful. I feel a sense of, honor that I was in that world for that short period of time. I don't take life for granted anymore. And I don't worry about the future.
What could be more relaxing than a gentle paddle down the river, especially here where the flow is nice and slow. But in Australia's whitewater rapids, it can be a very different story, as one young canoeist found out to his cost. It's one of the most treacherous whitewater courses in the world, stretching over 80 miles of the Avon River. This natural rock dam is one of the biggest stumbling blocks for competitors, claiming several victims. While some are tossed from their boats, one canoeist isn't so lucky. 23-year-old Lachlan Mills is wedged between two rocks. The enormous pressure of water pushes him under and holds him there. Rescuer Tim Moore desperately tries to move the canoe, but the force of the torrent makes it impossible. Then, an amazing stroke of luck. Another boat crashes into the stricken canoe, freeing it from the rocks. Lachlan is unconscious. Rescuers waste no time and begin giving him the kiss of life in the water.
There was a bit of a look of life in his face. And he came round and I gave him a shake and I said, where are you? What's your name? What's your name? And he said, help, very quietly.
At that stage, I thought, this is it. I'm going to die at age 23. Not at all how I'd planned it or how I thought it would turn out, but that's what it was going to be. The water pressure was immense. That year the river level was high, and at that particular rapid, the force of the water flowing through the rocks is just indescribable. For days afterwards, when I had a shower, the sound and the feeling of the water rushing over my head brought the memories right back. It gave me chills.
After his lucky break, he's decided to quit while he's ahead.
This thing has certainly put me off whitewater canoeing. My wife, who was watching the whole thing from the bank, has banned me from taking part in the Avon Descent again, so I've taken up triathlon instead.
Wise move. Now this is Shadow, and she's a Newfoundland, and she's just as much at home in the water as she is on dry land. Newfoundlands are excellent swimmers, and they've been credited with saving quite a number of people from drowning. Of course, it works both ways. Dogs rescue people, people rescue dogs. Our final clip comes from the States, and it involves a rescue attempt that called for the very best in human determination and courage. A dog is trapped in the middle of a frozen lake, but not just any dog. This is a wild dog, a potential killer. Rescue teams have been trying for hours to get to him, but as temperatures plummet to 10 below, his chances of survival are looking increasingly bleak. Rescuers are equipped with special thermal suits and lightweight sleds, capable of travelling on both ice and water. They're risking their own lives to try and save him. But man is his natural enemy, and his natural inclination is to run. Then comes an incredible turnaround. He seems to realise unless he accepts help, he'll die. For the rescuer, tense moments. Face to face with the wild dog, he's no idea how he'll react. A grateful lick says it all, and sends a sigh of relief through the whole team. But it's not over yet. The lake's still a very real danger. Back on dry land, the remarkable bond continues. Saved from an icy grave, the dog instinctively seems to know he's in good hands. And I'm pleased to say that particular wild dog is no longer wild. He made a full recovery and was adopted by a local family. So a happy ending. I'll be back with more Great Escapes soon. See you then. Bye-bye.
Well, in fact, Martin Brundle will be back next Monday at the same time, 8:30, with more stories of great escapes.